People used to say Florida was the ideal place to retire, a place where you could live in peace after years of hard work. But today, is that still true? What's happening in Florida's housing market in 2026 is no longer a minor correction. It's a long slide. Thousands of empty homes, abandoned projects, homeowners taking losses, insurance doubling and tripling. Some say bluntly, "I pay more for insurance than for my mortgage." In Cape Coral, Fort Myers, more than 125,000 homes are sitting vacant. In North Port, 1 out of every 4 homes has no residents. Miami-Dade lost nearly 70,000 residents in just 1 year due to the high cost of living. This is no longer rumor. This is data, a warning. And if you live in Florida, you may be standing at the very center of this crisis. Today's video will take you through 10 cities, 10 locations where the housing market is reeling, confidence is shaking, and the future looks murkier than ever. Because one day, the home you love may no longer be a place of refuge, but a burden, a financial trap. Watch closely. Don't be caught off guard. 10. North Port, Florida. The warm dream is turning into a cold winter. They came to North Port with hope, and now they're leaving in silence. North Port was once the perfect symbol of the leaving the city for Florida dream. Year-round sunshine, peaceful communities, and homes still within reach. After the pandemic, thousands from New York, Chicago, Boston, and even California moved here, bringing their luggage, their optimism, and their belief in a new beginning. But just 3 years later, many of them are listing their homes, leaving them empty or quietly moving away, as if walking away from a beautiful dream that just dissolved. North Port is empty, not because of space, but because of people. According to a report from Homes.com, the entire North Port Bradenton Sarasota area now has a vacancy rate of 23.7%, the second highest in the nation, only after Cape Coral. That means for every 4 homes, nearly 1 is unoccupied. And no, these aren't vacation properties. They're real homes, bought with real money, now left empty because they can't be sold, can't be rented, and can't be carried anymore. The aftershock of the post-pandemic buying frenzy has now left behind a frozen market, frozen to the point of pain. In just 12 months, condo prices have dropped 8.9%, while single-family homes have lost another 5%. But price isn't what worries North Port residents most. It's time. Homes that once sold in a week now sit idle for 3 months with no offers. Nearly 1/3 of all listings have had to cut prices. This is no longer a cooling market. It's a sign of a quiet exodus. The pain here isn't in the charts or spreadsheets. It's in the eyes of a middle-aged man who once withdrew his retirement savings to buy his final home, now anxious, unsure if he can sell before losing everything. It's in the newly built fences around fresh developments now overgrown with weeds. It's in the silence of streets that once bustled with people walking their dogs. Now only the sound of wind and faded for sale signs remain. A 67-year-old retired woman now wants to return to Michigan because she can no longer afford insurance. North Port didn't collapse overnight. It melted away. One house, one hope, one family at a time. And if this trend continues, what was once called the New Florida could become the first symbol of the 2026 housing crisis. Not because of natural disasters, but because the market itself has turned its back on those who believed in it most. What would you do if your home lost 9% of its value in just 1 year? Share your thoughts below. 9. Cape Coral, Fort Myers. When the retirement paradise becomes the epicenter of crisis. If you ever dreamed of a peaceful life by the bay, surrounded by glowing sunset canals in Cape Coral, The reality of 2026 might wake you up from that dream in the middle of the afternoon. Cape Coral, Fort Myers was once considered a haven for retirees. Warm climate, modern infrastructure, spacious homes, and prices still affordable compared to the East Coast. But in less than 3 years, this land has turned from a place to live into a place to escape. And that change isn't just emotional. It comes from numbers, storms, and a market that's shrinking fast. According to Fox 4 News and Homes.com, Cape Coral, Fort Myers currently has the highest number of vacant homes in the United States, with over 125,000 unoccupied properties, accounting for 38.7% of the entire market. These aren't just empty houses, they're dying investments. Families who once believed they had found their final retreat now face price-reduced, third-time signs hanging on their doors for months. From mid-2023 until now, this market has seen price declines in 12 out of 13 consecutive months, a rare streak even compared to the post-2008 period. According to Fox Business, up to 8% of homeowners in this area are underwater, meaning they owe the bank more than their homes are worth. This is a glaring red alert, especially for those who used retirement savings or refinanced their homes to start over in their later years. But the root cause isn't just a price bubble. It's also the aftermath of natural disasters and skyrocketing insurance. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, home insurance costs here surged dramatically, with some reporting annual premiums exceeding $8,000, higher than their mortgage payments. That's forcing many residents, especially retirees or those living on fixed incomes, to sell or move out. Meanwhile, supply keeps rising. New suburban developments that bloomed during the post-COVID construction boom are now eerily quiet. Many homes sit half-built, plywood still fresh, but no one wants to finish them. Contractors have paused projects. Sellers are slashing prices by $30,000 and $50,000 just to get an offer. But buyers remain silent. Cape Coral is no longer about winter vacations. It's becoming a living symbol of the 2026 housing crisis. And with so many vacant homes, the question is no longer when will it recover, but rather, will this city become another Detroit? Or can it still save its future? 8. Lakeland, Florida. When the bubble doesn't burst, but slowly deflates house by house, it doesn't take a hurricane or a global financial crisis. Lakeland can fall into a housing downturn all on its own. And the most dangerous part? No one seems willing to stop. In the years after the pandemic, Lakeland suddenly became the bright spot between two giants, Orlando and Tampa. A place with reasonable prices, easy access, plenty of land, and booming development. But that same appeal created an illusion of endless growth. Projects kept springing up as if demand would never run out. Yet the market doesn't run on optimism. It runs on supply and demand. And right now, reality is betraying that belief. A city commissioner openly warned during a public meeting that if the city continues approving dense townhouse projects without proper planning and infrastructure, we're building the slums of the future. Not because the people are bad, but because the planning is. Overcrowded layouts, inconsistent utilities, and poor coordination. The statement shocked the community, but also captured a deeper fear. Lakeland may be building too much, too fast, and in all the wrong places. Home prices in Lakeland are beginning to retreat. The median listing price has fallen by 2.0% year over year, according to House Canary. It may sound small, but in a city that has rarely experienced a major price shock, this is a warning bell. Because it didn't come from an external crisis, it came from within. Locals are slowing down, buyers are hesitating, and investors are quietly cashing out. The danger lies here. Lakeland hasn't crashed. It's not a ghost town yet like Cape Coral or Northport. But it's entering its most fragile stage, the uncertain one. Not enough data to sound alarms, yet plenty of signs that the market is hurting itself. New streets sit empty of cars. For sale signs hang silently under the Florida sun. Real estate agents no longer knock door to door with confidence. Buyers are asking more questions, but not making offers. And that's how a bubble doesn't explode. It leaks slowly, until everyone realizes it's too late. Lakeland isn't the first city to fall into the cycle of building, hoping, stagnating, and then disappointing. But it could be the next one. If you find these signs concerning, leave a comment or share your experience. And if you want more honest, no-nonsense housing market insights like this, hit subscribe. You won't miss the next early warning. 7. Port St. Lucie, Florida. When a home becomes a burden, not a dream. Do you still remember that feeling when your first home was finally closed? The joy, the expectations, the peace of mind. But in Port St. Lucie in 2026, that feeling is being replaced by anxiety and often regret. A few years ago, Port St. Lucie was paradise. The city grew rapidly with beautiful homes, full amenities, and not too far from major centers. Investors flooded in. Young families bought their first homes. Retirees chose this place as their final stop. But like every real estate dream in Florida, it went too far, too fast. Condo prices in Port St. Lucie have now dropped 7.3% compared to the same time last year, according to ResiClub. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The market here is slowly shifting into a buyer's market, meaning buyers have the power and sellers are scrambling. Listings have surged. Many homeowners are forced to cut prices or even pull out of the market because no one's buying. Gone are the days of bidding wars or 24-hour closings. Now, for sale signs hang for weeks, cold and unmoving at the gates. But what worries people aged 50 plus isn't just the falling prices. It's the hidden costs after signing the contract. HOA fees are climbing fast. Many communities have raised them from $80 to over $200 a month to cover insurance, maintenance, and post-disaster infrastructure upgrades. Home insurance is skyrocketing too, sometimes exceeding the mortgage itself. Those who once budgeted just enough now struggle to stay afloat. And quite a few are beginning to wonder, should they sell early or wait for the market to recover? Port St. Lucie isn't collapsing, but it's falling into a state of market paralysis. Oversupply, weak demand, high costs, and cautious buyer sentiment. For those who already own homes and plan to stay long-term, this is a tense period. But for those planning to invest or retire here, the question to ask isn't how much does it cost, but is this place still right for me? Do you think Port St. Lucie's market is truly entering a danger zone? Or is this just a mild correction? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. 6. Poinciana, Florida. When the first-time homebuyer's dream turns into a nightmare. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, Florida didn't just have to rebuild its rooftops. It had to patch up the financial system of millions of households. And in Poinciana, once seen as paradise for first-time buyers, the dream of owning a first home is turning into an inescapable burden. Poinciana isn't a major city. It doesn't have skyscrapers or ocean waves. But for thousands of working families, it used to be a symbol of hope. A place where they could buy a home, raise their children, and build a stable life. However, after the housing boom, what's left are rows of newly built homes that sit unsold, and new residents struggling under rising costs. Home insurance costs in this area have skyrocketed, reaching $6,000 to $8,000 per year, and even higher for homes located near flood risk zones. Those numbers aren't just statistics. They represent costs far beyond what many people can afford, especially working-class families and first-time buyers. But it doesn't stop there. HOA fees in Poinciana are also climbing out of control, from under $100 a month to $200, even $300 in some new developments. And that's not counting property taxes, which are also rising based on outdated valuations, even though the current market is cooling down. The result? Many families can't keep up with the total costs, leading to a wave of listings from sellers trying to cash out. But there are far more homes for sale than buyers. New houses sit vacant. Many have been listed for over 90 days with no offers. Agents call, send mailers, slash prices, yet still can't close deals. Do you believe these quickly built communities will survive the next 5 years? Or is this the beginning of a new default belt across Florida? Share your thoughts below. 5. Deltona, Florida. When buyers watch and sellers wait. No price growth, no bidding wars, no competition left. The Deltona housing market is entering its most dangerous state, stagnation, where both buyers and sellers have lost motivation. Deltona, a quiet city west of Daytona, was once an ideal destination for middle-class families seeking refuge from urban chaos while staying connected to major hubs. But in 2025, that calmness is no longer a dream quality. It has become a symbol of a cooling market, and overwhelming the median home price in Deltona has slipped slightly by 1.4%. A number that might not seem big, but it marks a turning point. No more growth. No more buy now, profit later dreams. Meanwhile, inventory has surged. Just in January 2025 alone, 436 homes were listed for sale, up 65% from the same time last year, according to Bankrate. Notably, the months of supply, a key market health indicator, has doubled, reaching 6.2 months. That means demand can no longer absorb supply, and that's what's killing investor confidence. When homes sit unsold for too long, sellers begin cutting prices. New builds are no longer hot properties. They've become cost burdens. Investors, once the backbone of the market, are retreating step by step. They're not just leaving because of stagnation, but because the cost of home ownership in Florida is spiraling out of control. Soaring insurance, rising maintenance costs, and no sign of relief in utilities or local taxes. Investing in Deltona no longer brings profit, only risk. And for regular homeowners, the scariest part isn't falling prices. It's a frozen market. When you want to sell your home to retire, relocate, or reinvest, but have to wait 100 days with no offers, that's when you realize your house is no longer an asset. It's trapped capital. Do you think Deltona will recover or remain this silent? Share your thoughts below. And if you're noticing unusual patterns in Florida's housing market, don't forget to subscribe for the next update. Early warning is always better than late rescue. 4. Ocala, Florida. When the market fools itself and the retirement dream turns into a nightmare. Can you imagine a city where even the locals have to write letters to newspapers just to say one thing? We're building too many homes that no one's buying. That's Ocala, the epicenter of Florida's rural housing bubble. Located in north-central Florida, Ocala was once the destination for those seeking a peaceful life. Small families, retired couples, anyone tired of urban chaos. And yes, during 2021-2022, it was paradise. But by 2025, people began to see the truth. That dream is being devoured by the very housing boom that created it. You don't need to read the news to see how inflated this market is. Just drive through the new subdivisions. You'll see dozens of freshly built homes, perfectly finished, hanging price-reduced signs. Many agents are offering discounts of $25,000 to $40,000, even covering escrow fees just to get buyers to close fast. That's not promotion. That's desperation. And the reason? It's crystal clear. Supply has far outstripped real demand. Developers poured massive capital into Ocala to build homes, vacation condos, and retirement communities, but forgot one thing. There aren't enough real buyers. Today's retirees are choosing to rent or move to cheaper states. Young people simply can't afford to buy. The market created its own demand, and then ran out of breath. That's not all. Home prices in Ocala have dropped about 3% compared to last year, according to data from House Canary. And while prices are falling, insurance costs are skyrocketing, especially for homes on the outskirts that haven't upgraded their flood or disaster protection systems. Even worse, basic infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals, hasn't kept up with the pace of construction. New residents move in only to find dust, construction noise, and unfinished promises. The amenities shown in the brochures haven't materialized, but the mortgage payments have already started. What do you think about communities built on illusions of growth? Can they survive? Or is Ocala becoming a vivid example of a market that inflated itself and is now ready to burst? Share your thoughts below. 3. Miami Beach, Florida. When getting away to the beach becomes a privilege for the ultra-rich, Miami Beach was once the proud symbol of the East Coast, a place where people flocked to buy their second homes, bask in sunshine, and live by the waves. Now, it may have become the barometer for those who have priced themselves out of reach. Between July 2023 and July 2024, Miami-Dade County lost 67,418 domestic residents, according to the Miami New Times. This was the largest loss among all Florida counties, not because of natural disasters or pandemics, but because the cost of living has become so high that many people are being forced to move to cheaper places. In Miami Beach, this shift is striking. Young people are leaving, the middle class can't hold on, and only the ultra-rich can endure. The pressure doesn't come from home prices alone. Home insurance, already a nightmare across Florida, has skyrocketed. Flood insurance premiums, stricter building regulations to address climate change, and rising material and labor costs have made home ownership in Miami Beach no longer an attainable dream. In other words, the desire to own a home in Miami Beach is now reserved only for those with deep pockets. Imagine this. Families leaving because they're crushed under $20,000 a year insurance bills. Homeowners downsizing, selling off parts of their property. Developers pulling out of coastal projects because total costs and regulatory details have become overwhelming. The once glittering skyline now has darkened windows and homes sitting unsold for months. Miami Beach is shifting from being a symbol of success to a luxury bubble, a place where if you're not wealthy, you simply can't stay long. 2. Winter Haven, Florida. When the vacation home market becomes a case study in cost calculations and cash flow. Winter Haven, located between Orlando and Lakeland, was once the perfect choice for those wanting proximity to big city amenities without the high price tag. But now, it feels like a math problem that's giving both homeowners and buyers a headache. At first glance, everything seems fine if you only look at the median listing price, around $299,000, down just 0.14% year over year, according to Redfin. Not a major crash, but a clear sign of stagnation. Look deeper, though. The average time to sell a home has increased from 56 days to 79 days. That's 23 extra days, enough to make leveraged owners, relocating families, or investors start hesitating. Inventory is rising. New developments are now struggling to sell. Vacant homes are showing up in new communities once glowing in marketing lights. Homeowners are starting to cut prices or accept slimmer profits just to get out. Meanwhile, home insurance and HOA fees, already high in Florida, continue to weigh heavily. Winter Haven is shifting from a buyer's market to a market of those who can endure the costs. Buyers without capital won't dare step in. Homeowners without staying power will sell at a loss. And if this trend continues, Winter Haven could turn into a frozen capital market, where real estate holds land, but can no longer build value. 1. Caryville, Florida. The town that's disappearing. Not a bubble, not a liquidity slowdown, but disappearance. Caryville isn't going through a housing crisis. It's becoming a living example of how an American town fades away. In the 1990s, Caryville had nearly 500 residents. But after the historic flood of 1994, almost the entire town was washed away, not just by water, but by the system itself. The federal government had to step in through FEMA's buyout program, purchasing hundreds of homes and clearing out the most heavily flooded areas. People moved away, roofs were torn down, and one by one, streets and neighborhoods began to empty. By 2020, Caryville's official population had dropped to just 301 people, down nearly 27% in a single decade. At one point before that, the town had fewer than 200 residents left. Those aren't just numbers. They mean preschools shut down, stores went dark, churches lost their congregations, and family photos became relics of memory. Today, if you drive through Caryville, you'll see the shadow of an old, faded American dream. Empty homes, overgrown yards, and for sale signs that have stood for months with no buyers. No new residents, no new investments, no wave of recovery, only silence. Caryville isn't an investment destination, it's a warning that when natural disasters, poor urban policy, and government neglect collide, a community can vanish entirely from America's map. Have you ever passed through a place that was once full of life, now left in silence? Share your story below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we don't lose sight of the places quietly fading away. Florida is changing, and not for the better. More empty homes, more people leaving, home prices no longer rising, and with interest rates, insurance, HOA fees, and taxes all climbing. The question is no longer, should you buy, but should you stay? If you're living in one of these cities, watch closely. If you're planning to move to Florida, think carefully. Real estate was once a dream, but that dream can turn into a trap when everything around it starts to collapse. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Is your city changing like this too? If this video helped you understand the market better, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to know. Because under Florida's sunshine, there are places growing colder by the day.